As a high school student aspiring to a career in the areas of law or social justice, imagine a class where Indiana Supreme Court Justice is your teacher. For students enrolled in the Randall Shepard Academy for Law and Social Justice, that dream is a reality.
The program started out as an idea between Indiana Supreme Court Chief Justice Randall Shepard and Superintendent Vince Bertram. What if high school students interested in law and social justice didn't have to wait until college or law school?
We were very intent on making this an experience like they've not had before. And in order to do that, we wanted to make it relevant. It's one thing for us to talk about, what the coroner does. It's a whole other thing for them to get to go see it. And it's one thing for us to tell them how court works. And it's another thing for them to get to go see it.
The Shepard Academy is certainly providing an experience these students have never had. The Academy is the first of its kind, supported by Chief Justice Shepard. He helped develop the curriculum, and he frequently guest lectures via Skype and discusses court rulings after they've taken place and students have studied them.
In fact, every 2 weeks they go visit the courts and watch them in session. We've managed to bring in a lot of really amazing guest speakers that give these students a perspective that their teachers can't necessarily give them. We can tell them about it, but it makes a whole different impact on them when they can get that from somebody who's experiencing it.
During a recent field trip to Indianapolis, Wrights Jr. Quade Kelly, who has wanted to be an attorney since he was little, confirmed law was the right career for him.
I actually got to see two lawyers go at it, where they weren't actually going at it neck and neck, but I seen them actually debate, and I know it's set in stone.
The half-day program brings together students from all high schools, public, private, and even those outside Evansville. It's designed as a 2-year program for juniors and seniors and incorporates their English, government, history, speech, and elective credits. They are also paired up with a professional mentor.
Well, I chose to come because I really just was looking to do something different, And I think it's good because it, lets you meet other kids, and it kind of teaches you to think it in a different way. I think everything, just the whole experience has just been really good, I think, for me and everyone.
Reporting for Education Matters, I'm Jennifer Cahill.
The Chief Justice could not join us today, but I had the opportunity to talk with Randy Shepard yesterday about the Shepard Academy and its formation. Well, Mr. Chief Justice, we've this past school year has just been an incredible experience for our students being part of the Randall Shepard Academy for Law and Social Justice. And I want to just go back to last summer when this idea was conceived and then rolled out. And tell us a little bit about, from your perspective, what the goals of the program have been.
I think this is a kind of brave experiment into the idea that we might be able to prepare a splendid new generation of not just of lawyers, but of people who are committed to civic engagement. Lawyers do, of course, the things that we see lawyers do in courtrooms and elsewhere, but they're also engaged in a great many other careers, running or helping to run institutions or community activities, and also engaged in their work as citizens. And the fact that there might be a chance in a school district committed to innovation to try to prepare a collection of young men and women to be those kinds of citizens really seems to me a terrific objective, and one that may be on the way to proving itself accurate.
Absolutely. When people talk about law and social justice, they understand the law piece, or at least they believe they do. Talk a little bit about the social justice. What does that really imply for American citizens, in particular these students?
Lawyers and people who study law think of law as the collective voice of the community's decisions about how we ought to live with each other, and that applies in a host of settings, all the way from how we behave over the backyard fence to how we have civic debates in public settings like elections. Now, there are a host of moments in which the law and what might be called classic social justice questions have been joined at the hip. The most famous in education, of course, is Brown versus Board of Education, where the question was, is separate but equal going to be tolerated, or are we going to have integrated schools in America? And it's a happy fact that in Evansville, the decision on that question was yes, long before the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Brown versus Board. So that the people who did that were engaged, one might say, in classic activity that arose out of the desire for social justice and the commitment to it. But on the litigation side, the real law side, the lawyers went to court, people like Thurgood Marshall, and made it the law of the whole country.
Yes. In our State of the Schools address just a few weeks ago, I posed this issue, and I was talking about school innovation, and I made the point, and I asked the audience, can you imagine being in a classroom setting and your instructor is the Chief Justice of the Indiana Supreme Court? What a fascinating experience for our students. Tell us a little bit about your interaction with these students over the past year.
It has changed over the period of these first 7 or 8 months. The very first time I met them, of course, was in the classroom, in the very place where I went to high school. And my experience on that moment was not atypical in the sense that it takes a little while for high school juniors to get comfortable with the idea that it's okay to ask me questions and that I don't bite when they do so. We then have had the occasion to use electronics to do the same thing, and then of course more recently they were here in the State House for an actual argument of a case, and we then sat down after the case was over. Of course I wasn't in a position to talk to them about the outcome of the case, of that particular case, but to talk about how the whole enterprise actually functions and what it was I was going to be doing for the rest of the day and why. And it was a much more, it seemed much more, a much easier discussion between us. So I took this to be a good thing, that from back in the beginning to now, that we were able to chat about things more freely and ask deeper questions as time went on.
Final question for you. Has this experience met your expectations?
Oh, you hardly know what to say. I hardly know what to say to such a question. I'm excited. I always was. But you know what really excites me now about it is the fact that the number of students who signed up to become juniors is twice as many students as signed up a year ago. And what that tells me is that the faculty, the teachers, and the staff who have made this work have created such a valuable experience that these students have gone out and told their friends, this is a good gig, and you ought to give it a try. And that's genuinely heartwarming, and it reflects on what a terrific job the teachers and staff have done in taking this little idea and turning it into something, the benefits of which the real benefits of which may be, and will be, years in the future. But it's a tremendous honor to be associated with it, and then to see it succeed, most particularly in the eyes of the students.
And after the break, we'll introduce you to another innovative model for elementary school students.